Hello! My name is Marcus Stewart, and welcome to another episode of Carving Gaming Rushmores. And joining me today are my esteemed guests. First, returning for his streak, what is this, 4 now for you, Mr. Zak Gardner?
Have there been 4 of these so far?
This is the 4th, yeah.
Wow, okay. Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Numero quattro.
It's 4. You're like the Undertaker of this show. Sooner or later, Brock Lesnar's going to come and knock you off of it.
I didn't make the connection with wrestling at first. I was like, I'm taking it to the graveyard? What?
Oh, like an actual Undertaker?
Yeah.
Okay. Nah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
The show's ending already?
Yep, that's it. Thanks for coming. See the series finale right here.
Oh.
We can't top this one, guys.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I got you. And joining me today is a new guest, and forgive me if I mispronounce your last name, but Mr. Zak Wojnar. Oh man, say your last name.
Zak Wojnar. My dad is half Polish. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
Wojnar.
Yeah.
Wojnar.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you got it.
Okay, I was gonna go between like that or like Wojnar or.
I get every possible way to say that I've heard. And my way is technically wrong. It's an anglicized version. I think it's supposed to be pronounced Wojnar in the original Polish.
That's a good name. That's good. It's a good D&D name. Remember that.
One day. I've never played.
Save it. Don't let anyone take it. And if you're new to Carving Gaming Rushmore, it's just a quick rundown of how things work around here. So basically every episode centers around one particular topic. It could be the best karate gis in video games. It could be
that's Ryu. Like that, just Ryu's the entire.
But Ken's is red.
The entire mountain.
Ken's is red.
Yeah, so it's
Akuma's
Ryu.
is black. Well, I mean, guess who has the pink one? I mean, that's pretty cool. Okay.
It's just 4 statues of Ryu.
This episode's just going to turn into that topic now. But yeah, it could be that, or it could be, I don't know, the top 4 times that Cappy in Mario Odyssey took over a thing, and I only say that because I have a Cappy Cap staring right at me. So he kind of begged for recognition, so there it is. But you get the idea. We take a topic and we decide the 4 premier examples of that. And the way we do that is that each of us present our individual list of 4 nominees. And then once that's done, we take those nominees and we work together to form a Final 4 definitive list. So there's a lot of debating, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of Jack pulling come from behind victories that don't make sense on paper.
But yet, here they are. Solidified forever in Mount Rushmores.
All right, we'll see if he can pull it off for a 3rd time.
Well, all of mine are sensible and right, so.
Sensible and right.
Yeah.
The best combination that a thing could be.
Mm-hmm. And
today's topic is one I'm particularly excited for, with the release of the Shadow of the Colossus remake, also just called Shadow of the Colossus. I'm surprised they don't throw the term remake on there. But yeah, that released this past Tuesday, and kind of celebrate that game's release, we are going to be deciding the Mount Rushmore of Colossi, the top 4 Colossi. I was going to say Colossi monsters, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And the way we're going to kind of determine that, it could be based on the Colossi's individual designs, it could be based on the actual fight around them, or it could be based on just any other weird little just thing that you like about them that you feel that would make a strong argument to convince the other 2 people. Have you got? And I know Jack and we've been playing the remake this week. Zach, you haven't had a chance to play it, but you've been playing the HD version.
I've been playing the PS3 version. I played the PS2 way back in the day, and when they said they were doing the remake, I was like, oh, cool. I've had the Eco and Shadow of Colossus collection on PS3 for a long time. I love Eco, and I've played that one like 3 or 4 times. I just never got around to playing Shadow of the Colossus. And then I was like, all right, well, the remake's out, so I should start. And then I got a call from you, and I was like, oh, okay, now I know I really need to start.
Okay, there you go. You're welcome. And it's great because, and just real quick before we get into it, I just want to say that Shadow Colossus, I've been reminded playing this remake that it's one of my favorite games of all time. Just an absolutely magical game. There really isn't anything like it. And that's kind of been solidified after playing through this most recent remake. It's a really wonderful game. And if you have not had a chance to play it before, you should definitely pick up either that HD version or that remake version for PS4. I consider it a must-play for any enthusiast of this medium.
And if you're interested in kind of the background, the making of Shadow of the Colossus, actually the HD version for PlayStation 3 comes with kind of a making of documentary that covers both Ico, as I pronounce it incorrectly.
I do too.
And, and also Shadow of the Colossus. I think it's In the Footsteps of Giants is what it's called. And it's definitely worth watching because it's just really interesting seeing kind of the creative minds behind, I would argue, 2 of the most influential games of the last couple decades. Just talking about how they got their ideas made in the first place.
I know what I'm watching tonight.
Yeah, check that out. It's worth it.
You should. Yeah. And just a quick note, if you're listening / watching the YouTube version of the show, when we're discussing our Colossi picks, there will be photos of each Colossi there if you don't remember or would like a visual representation just to help you out with that.
Oh man, you are
up
in the work for yourself with a YouTube version.
I know, right? You should watch the YouTube version for all those extra pictures and visual aids and all that good stuff, you know.
Will there be graphs?
Yeah, there will be pie charts representative of each Colossi and a PowerPoint presentation that I've been slaving away at. So please like it. I haven't had to do a PowerPoint since middle school, so please do it.
Clip art all over the place.
Yep, it's the paperclip guide from Windows 95.
I did a PowerPoint in middle school about the Middle Ages, and I used pictures from Final Fantasy Tactics.
That's a good route. That's a good way to go.
Good times.
You're gonna do that.
Probably. I was a pretty good student in those years.
I assume I passed.
I submitted a project for my minor in medieval history in college, and for that project I used Age of Empires 2. And I got an A on it. So
did you just pass it off as that? You didn't even say it was from the game. You're just like,
the actual footage.
Yep. Just like, yeah, this is don't ask me how I got this, but
things looked a lot more pixelated back then. What can I say?
Yeah, antiquated.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And you know what? I'm gonna do a mental roulette in my head of who will start. And how about you, Jack?
All right.
Let's kick it off with you. What's your number 1 pick for best Colossi?
I am going to go with my absolute favorite first, leading the charge, the swordsman. I didn't bother looking up their names.
What's his number, though? I'd say, what number is he?
He's number 3, I believe.
Okay.
He basically is, I believe, the tallest Colossi, maybe the second tallest. And you encounter him on top of this giant platform that is kind of on these ruins that have been flooded, and you have to go up this winding staircase and make this harrowing jump, and you get over to this giant platform. And at this point in the game, you have no real idea what you're going to be encountering, because the first Colossus was kind of a guy with a club, and the second Colossus is this giant horse dog thing that's like the size of a 5 or 6 story office building. And this guy is like encountering a skyscraper that wants to kill you and has a second smaller skyscraper that it's trying to beat you to death with, and you just have to kill it. And the first time I encountered this guy, I had absolutely no idea what to do, and I'm pretty sure I just ran around like a headless chicken for like maybe an hour. And before I figured out how to actually beat it, are we gonna be talking like spoilers and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the nature of this pod, it's gonna be spoilery in general because we're gonna be talking about, well, possibly we're gonna be spoiling all the Colossi.
Yeah.
So if you haven't played the game and you want to be surprised about what's in the game, you probably shouldn't be listening to this in the first place. But yeah, just be warned that we are going to be spoiling.
Okay. Yeah, because and again, if you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, you should probably just stop listening now and go play it, because part of the fun, at least of the very first time you go through Shadow of the Colossus, is figuring out how to actually tackle each of these. Like, the main portion of the game is fighting these colossi, these giant creatures, and each one of them is a puzzle. You're trying to figure out how to actually get to their weak points and kill them, bring them down. And for the third Colossus, the swordsman, you actually have to get him to specifically attack like this stone platform that is on his larger platform that's covered in dirt. And that shatters his arm guard. But that still doesn't get you up onto him. No, what you have to do is you actually have to provoke him from far enough distance away where he winds up and brings his sword down with such force that it buries itself into the ground, and then you have to run up his freaking sword and scale up to his head and stab him several times. And it to this day, it's still one of the coolest things I've ever done in a game. And like, to figure that out and then to have it work, and it's just exciting and cool, and all around A+. A+ Colossus. Deserves to go on to a mountain.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and mention now that he was also on my list, number 3.
Okay.
Pretty much for a lot of the same reason. I'll add that at the time that I first played Shadow back in 2005, like, he was the Colossi that really sold the game for me. Where, like, those first two were cool, but that was the one where I was like, first of all, he's like the biggest one, at least up to that point. And I think you're right, he's probably the second biggest in that game. But he was the first one that really made me feel tiny. And yeah. I think that's one of the like most alluring aspects of that game, is fighting a thing and you're like, man, I'm nothing really compared to this thing. And like, but then it made you feel so empowered, like, I'm just a speck, but I've taken him down. And yeah, like the act of climbing him and, you know, kind of outsmarting him, I guess, for lack of a better word, you know, like just crawling over him. Like, yeah, like I took down this giant thing when to him I'm probably like no bigger than like a little dust mite. And that's cool. Like, no other game makes me feel like that. And also he just looks really cool. Yeah. I've always liked the way he has a cool design. He has like a sword hand. I mean, how do you top a sword hand?
Well, and it taps into something pretty, I think, fundamental to stories that we all grow up with, like fairy tales, like Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't know if that's a popular one that other people grew up with, or if I got that story a lot because my name is Jack. But, you know, these stories of, you know, normal people encountering these overwhelming threats and using their wits to kind of overcome them and gain the upper hand. And the entire game kind of taps into that. But that number 3, the swordsman, he's the one that really hammered that home the best the first time I played this game.
Quite literally hammered it home.
Yes.
Alrighty, swordsman. There we go. Alrighty, since that was also one of mine, Zach, let's hear one of yours. What you got?
There's going to be an opportunity to express dissent against the swordsman later, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to take it down.
Look at that. He's already rolling his sleeves
up. Okay. So according to the Team Eco Wiki, the one on my list is Kuromori.
Okay. Which number is he?
Number 8. And it is a big old turtle that climbs walls and shoots fire out of its mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. The one in the Colosseum.
Yeah. I love that Colosseum. I don't know what it's for. A lot of the architecture in that, especially with the swordsman, you get up to that platform and you're like, what was this? I don't know. And this Colosseum, you're like, I mean, what do they have a Colosseum for? I don't know. But there's a big old turtle who's not that big. He's one of the smaller Colossi. But that's one, for me, where I beat him, and I wasn't sure if I did it the right way.
Oh, really?
I don't know if there's multiple ways to beat most of these. I'm pretty sure it's just like, the only way to beat the swordsman is to run up the sword, which is so awesome. But
yeah,
this one, I'm not sure if there was something I was supposed to do, because I feel like you can't do it without taking damage. So the key here is you got to provoke him to climb up the walls, and then before he shoots you with his fire, you have to shoot his legs with arrows so that he falls off and lands on his back.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have to go down and climb on his belly and stab him. And it's, unless you run all the way down the stairs, and if you run all the way down the stairs, then he gets up before you can attack him. So you kind of have to jump out of the window, or, into the clearing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that without taking damage. It's not a whole lot if you're not super high up on the platform, but you go down, you take damage, and then you stab him in his belly, and you do it. It took twice before I finished him off.
Yeah,
and that's one, like, the whole time I was like, am I doing this right? Is there some kind of like downward attack I'm supposed to be doing? I don't know.
You can actually
like a link thrust.
Yeah.
You can actually do plunging sword attack.
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you hold the R1 button and do the sword attack button, he does like a link plunge with the sword down.
And does it work on him?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to land on the weak point, but it works. I did it today. I was playing the remake, and the tiger Colossus, the one that's afraid of fire, and you push him off a ledge, you can do that attack on him, and it almost instantly kills him.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you could do that either.
Yeah.
Every time I fought those the Colossi that were designed that way, I would think like, man, this would be perfect for a link stab.
Yeah.
And I guess Team Eco agreed as well.
I mean, that's one of the things I love about Shadow of the Colossus, that every single move you can do in the game has some kind of purpose, with the exception of like a few of them. Like there's the ability you can stand on top of your horse while it's running. I don't know why that's in there, but it's pretty cool.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
I figured out I could do that totally by chance, and it just, I tried to do it tactically, and I just got wrecked.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some expert that will explain the strategic advantage of using it that we can't wrap our minds around.
I have an idea, and I might bring this up again later for how you could use it, but it's just an example of like there are a lot of very situational uses for powers. Like, for example, there is the normal like attack you can do with the sword that almost never comes up at all in any part of the game ever.
Mm-hmm.
But the one time you actually do, there is one time you actually do have to use it, and that's when you are kind of directing the Colossus that's in the giant lake on top of the waterfall, and you're hitting kind of his teeth crown.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like little touches like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, so we've got number 8, right?
Yes.
All right, number 8. Weird, like I think he's kind of closer to an armadillo, personally.
The developer nickname, it says the gecko.
Gecko.
We all think of it as a different animal.
Exactly. It looks more like a sugar glider to me, but I'm just saying.
I thought of him as like a larger version of those salamanders that were running around with the tails that you can eat.
Ooh, what if he is? What if you could cut his tail off and eat it, and it just immediately maxes your stamina? Like it's a secret that nobody knows about.
Man, I'm pretty sure people have spent so much time on this game. There are no secrets people don't know about.
Exactly.
That's why they had to remake it.
Yeah, exactly. With more
and
secrets.
add more secrets.
Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty, so I guess I'll go this next one since I guess we're officially into second picks now.
Yep.
So my next one is going to be number 9, which is that actual giant turtle that's in the like geyser desert place.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
So he was one of I have not played Shadow of the Colossus in its entirety since it launched back in 2005. So playing the remake, a good 13 years removed from it. It's been half nostalgia and half like playing it new again. So like there were some Colossi that I remembered and some I completely forgot, and he was one I completely forgot about. So when I saw him, I was like, oh wow, I feel like I should remember this guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, because you go into this so like one of the things I love about him is just his location. Like you go into this part of the map where it's just a bunch of flat lands and just guys are shooting up. And I don't remember how it looked in the old game, but in the remake, it looks fantastic. It looks scary and ominous as hell. Like it's just dark, and it looks like a really like almost looks like the world is ending in that specific spot.
Yeah.
It just looks really desolate. So you're like, it's kind of scary when you go in for the first time. So you're like, what is in here? And then when he shows up, like you can barely see him except for his eyes. He's hiding in his little cave, and then you see his little laser beam charge up, and you're like, oh god.
And I think like that's the first time you've seen a Colossus shoot a projectile weapon.
Yeah, I believe he's the first one. So you're just like, oh god.
It's scary.
Yeah, he's a scary dude. And a lot of it has to do with how just his environment. It sets the tone so well. And then it kind of, you have to go like, okay, I have to get close to him to draw him out. And you're trying to figure out like when you start riding around him, you see like, okay, this guy's, like every Colossus, like, okay, how do I even get on this guy and where can he be? And you're like, okay, this guy's covered head to toe in armor. I can kind of see fur underneath him, but like, I can't jump to it. How do I get to it? And then you kind of start to realize like, okay, I mean, and granted, if the little god guy doesn't chime in and go like, hey, idiot, here's what you do. You notice that you got to use those geysers around you. Like they're not just there for show. And that feels really fun. Like it also makes using aggro a lot of fun. Like some of my favorite boss fights are the ones where you really have to use aggro. Mainly because it makes you look cool. Like riding around, dodging those shots and trying to like keep pace with the thing that you're chasing. So you're riding with aggro, dodging shots, and trying to guide him over these geysers. And if you get him on top of the geyser will shoot him up, and he's almost like tickled by it. Like he'll kind of raise his legs up, just like whoa, and then it'll expose his little weak spots and his little feet.
I know his feet are so little.
Yeah, he's got little like kind of like chest pawn feet.
Yeah,
and. If you take out 2 of them, he'll lose balance and flip over on his side. And then at this point, what I love about it is that it seems really obvious what to do. Like, you're like, okay, look at that furry underbelly. Like, obviously, I got to stab the crap out of him. And you get in there, and if you search around long enough, you realize there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how can that be? Like, this is the only spot on his body where there's fur. And I remember the first time I did, I thought I made a mistake. Like, maybe I should shine first to kind of like find a thing. It was like, no, that doesn't work. And I'm like, I'm crawling over this guy's belly. Where else could it possibly be? So it kind of plays with your expectations of how most fights have gone to that point. And then eventually you'll figure out like, okay, it's clearly not here. And you notice that his kind of the outer rim of his shell is a grab hold, and you climb over a shell. And then once he kind of uprights himself, you get to walk around the back of a shell, which looks pretty cool and it feels cool. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, it's one of my favorite kind of aha moments in that game of like, oh, okay. They knew I would think that. And okay, I see what you're doing here, game. And, his weak point is on top of his head. And then at that point, it's a pretty easy fight. Like, he doesn't really swing you off that much, but just the whole process of riding around this hellscape, dodging geysers, and trying to dodge laser beams, and then flipping them over, and then having your expectations toyed with. I think he might be one of the more, like, underrated Colossi battles in the game. And I almost feel bad that I forgot about him the first time around until now. But yeah, I'm going to give him his due with this pick.
Yeah, he's also on my list, and he's one of the Colossi that comes out of the gate really, really strong, and is really aggressive and really scary and intimidating. And like you said, it's a really interesting learning process to kind of figure out how to defeat him. And I think the end of that process is really interesting to me because after you've done everything, you finally get up onto his shell, you get up to his head, you have enough time to kind of start to feel bad for him. And it might be one of the first Colossi when I played it the first time that I was just kind of like, I don't feel good about this. Because you get up to his head and there's like no way he can dislodge you. It just can't happen. And then you just stab him in the head while his eyes are kind of looking at you accusingly, and then he dies, and you're just like, well, you really went out of your way to like rouse him out of the cave and kill him. He wasn't doing nothing to nobody.
Just looking at his geysers, admiring his geysers.
Yep.
Yeah, number 9 would have been on my list. I just had a really, really lucky run. Like, he was also one that I didn't remember when he popped up. I was like, wow, I don't remember how this fight went. So I don't remember how I did it way back in the day, but when I did it yesterday, or the day before yesterday, it just, everything, the fight was over in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. He walked towards me, perfectly on the geyser, it went up, his feet were just immediately noticeable. It's like, oh, okay, giant, white, shiny, I have to shoot that. And then I climbed on, looked for the weak point, couldn't find it, kind of figured it's somewhere on him, made my way to the top, and then beat him. There was no time for the emotional connection to form. So I think if I just...
Quick and painless.
Right, the random number god was in my favor, and it was not as memorable as it should have been, and as it probably will be the next time I do it.
Alrighty. So Jack, what's your number 2?
Or
actually,
yeah, the turtle.
I guess the turtle was your number 2.
Yeah.
All right. So Zach, what's your number 2?
Okay.
Zach and Jack. I just realized you guys had rhyming names.
Yeah. Okay. So Poseidon is the developer nickname. Number 12, the one with the gross teeth that you have to hit with the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy's weird.
And that, for me, was one, like, the experience that you just described with number 9, I had with number 12. That, this game especially, where it's just 16 bosses, one after the other, with a little bit of exploration that's kind of sort of optional in between. And it's all about those moments of discovery, of going like, what am I supposed to do here? And then it just pops. Where I didn't know, because he's so huge, he's like a hippo, he's in the water, and there's these buildings on the side, you don't know what you're supposed to do. You know that you can lure him over by shooting him with arrows. He puts his arms up and kind of is leaning towards you very intimidatingly. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. He actually killed me once. And then I was like, all right, so I figured my way onto grabbing hold and taking me to the top of the building. And he puts his arms up, and then still I couldn't figure it out. And then by chance, just turning the camera around, I saw that glowing spot and was like, that's it. Okay, I got it now. Then you jump on and you feel like a bastard for killing this awesome thing.
Yeah, you do kind of feel bad. Like, he was another one that I forgot existed too until I fought him again. And you kind of realize, like, I think this thing is blind. Yeah. Like, I don't think he can't really see traditionally. Like, he kind of relies on, like, it seems like motion or sound. He has no visible eyeballs, and I think, at least that's the impression I got just looking at his movements. Like, yeah, like, he can't actually see me. So I'm just going to take advantage of that. And Yeah, I like his design a lot, and those teeth thing, or I want to know what the story is with those teeth. Or like,
I feel like there must have been a developer on the team that had like their wisdom teeth removed, or like had like
and several other teeth removed,
bad
and damaged,
rot or something. Like
there was a dev who had his entire top half of his head removed.
Yeah, just like old Toothless Joe down in concept art. He's we decided to make a Colossi with him. Every time he smiles, you're just like, oh god.
Oh, and that sound effect when you hit the teeth.
Oh yeah, like
it's like a tuning fork.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what played into my thing of like, I think he's blind and relies mostly on sound just because of the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's definitely one of the arguably maybe the most bizarre Colossus in that game. Okay.
Yeah, it was one where, like, by that point you've seen a dozen. I mean, he's the 12th one, right?
Yeah.
And you think that you've seen everything that the game can throw at you, and you have not.
Exactly. You're like, okay, this just took a turn for the bizarre. Alrighty, so number 12, Poseidon. I wrote down Teeth Thing. That's his street name.
Teeth Thing.
Teeth Thing. Alrighty. I guess back to me. My number 3. I have Colossi number 5, which is that bird that's over the big open water area.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the eagle?
Yeah, like the big eagle, and you're just swimming in the water. Yeah, that guy. So one big reason with him, he was the first Colossi back in the day that I felt genuinely kind of like scared or intimidated of, because like, I don't know, there's something about the openness of that arena where you're like, and also that it's in open water, and like open water can be kind of creepy, but like, it's not like he's in the water. He's just like, if you haven't seen it, it's just a big open area of water with a few structures floating in there, and he's just sitting on these in the middle, kind of like perches basically. And he's one of the Colossi that really doesn't do anything to you until you engage it. So like, he'll see you, but he'll just kind of like mind his own business. And the way you get his attention is that you gotta shoot an arrow at him, and it's kind of creepy the way I don't know, it's weird to say creepy, but to me it is. But and I think this also plays into like how I like the way that game uses its soundtrack, where even when he's like triggered, basically, it's not like the music ramps up like you're in fight mode now, like, and the big score kicks in. Like, it's that really serene, and that music was just like, where you're just like, it's kind of like music acknowledging like there's a Colossus here. That's about all it does. But you hit it, and that music starts playing, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know if I did anything to it. It's flying around now, but he doesn't seem like angry. So you're like, what am I supposed to do? And then when you're standing on one of the platforms, yeah, you see him make that big arc, and like, and then you're kind of like, is he coming? Is he? Oh my god, he's coming! And like, back in the day, that like kind of freaked me out in a way. I don't know, just the idea of like a giant bird that just like goes from like serene to just like, I'm going to like mess you up now. And then it's not until you actually jump on him that, the music kind of kicks up. And also the act of like jumping on him feels really cool. Like, just timing that, like, it reminds me of like if you remember those YouTube videos of like Kobe Bryant jumping over the moving car that was coming at him.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what that's like. Like, you're just timing it, like, just like, I almost feel like Wander bracing himself like, okay, I gotta get this right. I gotta get this right. So like, when you jump it and nail on his wing, you feel really, really cool. And it's the first flying Colossus, so it, is the first. It changed the dynamic of how that game works up to that point. You're like, wow, I'm just soaring through the sky on this giant thing. And I'm not afraid of heights, really, in real life, but, like, I will get, maybe anxious is the word I'm looking for, in, like, a really kind of, like, high place. Like, I get the same feeling soaring around on him the way I get, like, on a roller coaster to a degree of, like, almost like that kind of feeling in your stomach of, like, you almost feel the G-force playing the game of like, man, you're just like Mach speed right now, and his wings are flapping, and you're trying to jump from like point to point because he kind of got like patchy hairs on his wings. You're like, okay, I gotta climb his little bony parts to try to reach his wing, and you almost feel terrified about like dangling and falling, even though it's just, I mean, even though it's still water, you would in real life still die. But
yeah,
it's that terror of like, I don't want to fall, and also the terror of like, if I fall, I got to do the whole scary like he's gonna come at me thing again.
Yeah,
so, I don't have to do that again. So he's one of the ones that I've always remembered playing the first time. He's one of the ones that always came to mind when I thought about that game, and he still holds up today to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 5, big scary water eagle guy.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys have him at all?
I do.
And
it's all because of that moment when he's coming at you. And the first time, he always knocks you down. And the second time, you go, okay, I can actually jump and grab onto him. And that moment, that impact, that's the game. $60.
Yeah, like,
yep.
You just want to like fist pump when you get it right. You're like, I did it!
Mm-hmm. And that's the beginning. Then you're like running across his wings. Oh.
Yeah, he's like trying to get you off and stuff. It's a cool fight. It's a cool moment in a cool fight. Alrighty, so that's that's each of our number 3. So what's your number 3, Jack?
Mine is actually the final boss, the one I call affectionately the missile silo. And I know it is a fraught candidate. I know a lot of people have negative feelings towards him, and we, in fact, opened up our recording complaining about him. But I love everything about the lead up to his encounter. I love the force and atmosphere of the fight. I love the running through the tunnels and trying to do everything you can just to get close to him. And then the actual fight starts where you are trying to scale him. And he's just this immobile tower at the end of the world, at the center of this swirling maelstrom, and he's shooting the equivalent of these tiny nuclear bombs at you with almost pinpoint accuracy. And it's just... And you finally get up to him, and you're just like, all right, I'm ready to murder you. And, like, you realize on his part, he's just, like, mildly curious about you. And...
Yeah. After trying to, like, blast you to smithereens.
Yeah.
Like, once you get to him, he's like, oh.
What are you, tiny fleshling?
Okay. It's like, this is what I've been wasting all my energy towards.
And like, it comes right after an emotional climax where your faithful steed Agro, she hurls you to the other side of this crumbling pit and sacrifices herself for you.
And let's pour one out for Aggro.
Yep.
Nah, she's fine.
But we don't know.
She shakes it off. It's not like a broken leg is a death sentence for a horse. Oh God!
It's just a.
Oh God! It is actually. Oh no!
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we never got the sequel, which was Mono going off to slay a bunch more Colossi to heal the horse.
Oh.
Yeah, or maybe Aggro is reincarnated into Trico.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that goes without saying.
Okay. But yeah, that final guy, he's well, I mean, I'll talk more about him when we get to assembling this list.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think he is an effective final boss, because like a final boss for that game sounds like the most intimidating in the world to dream up, because after 15 of these monsters, like, how do you top 15 things? Like, the final boss has to somehow stand above them and be the most imposing thing in that game, and I think he pulls that off. Or like when you come up that staircase and see what it is that you're like that's creating the storm. I always assumed he was the one making the storm, and you see that thing and you're like, holy crap.
Well, like, I just have to, like, the fight itself incorporates almost all the lessons you learn throughout the game. And so
yeah.
it's, like, really well constructed from that puzzle end of things. And it is still a frustrating fight, and I totally agree with that. But I think it is one of the most interesting and emotional fights in the game.
I agree with the emotion part. Yeah, you don't even get a chance to get over aggro.
No,
you're just trucking forward. You're like, I can't. And like there were times where like instinctively I would try to call aggro to try to get closer to him. Like, oh no, that's not a thing anymore.
Yep.
Okay. He's not on my list. Was he on yours, Zach?
He was not.
Alrighty. So we're officially in our last round. So I guess I'll go. And my last one was oh man, I forgot which number he was. Well, I'll just say he was the sand snake thing that burrows in the sand, and you have to ride aggro to shoot him in the eyeballs.
Yeah.
You guys,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to find his number like right now. I had him up.
I'm gonna guess 12.
No, we got 12.
Might be 10 or 11.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, he's
10.
Sorry, he's number 10. Yeah, he's number 10. So number 10, sand snake that burrows in sand. His official canon title. He's one of... So going back to what I said earlier about some of my favorite fights being the ones that put aggro to good use, he might be the best one, if not one of the... If he's not the best one, he might be top 2, because you can't beat him without aggro. And the reason is that it's so, like, this thing, you're in this big kind of, like, cave, and it's just covered in sand, and he's the snake that burrows in the sand, and he moves in the sand lightning quick. Like, if you try to run around, he will be on you so fast, and if he hits you, he does a crap load of damage. So you have to get on aggro, and what you have to do is ride around kind of like top speed on aggro, and then eventually you'll get his attention, and he'll pop up behind you just kind of like an alligator popping his head out of the water. It's just kind of like his snout and his eyeballs, and just the image of like seeing this thing behind you as you're kind of fleeing it is kind of terrifying. And it looks cool, and then you're trying to figure out, like, okay, I got his attention, but what do I do? And I remember initially thinking, like, oh, maybe I have to send him into those pillars. And you're like, okay, that's not it. And then you realize that you have to shoot his eyeballs. And what's cool is that he's the only boss where you have to target his eyes in the entire game. And I used to always wonder that, as like, has Wander ever just tried shooting the eyes of this thing? Because, like, they all need eyes to see. And except for the crazy teeth thing, you know, like, that should probably do something, right? Like, it was kind of the same mentality of, like people that fight Superman. I used to know, I just shoot him in the eye until Superman Returns kind of like debunked that theory. But like before that, I was like, well, clearly his eyes are still like fleshy, sensitive things, right? Just shoot him in the eyeball. So like the first time you discover that in the game, it was kind of like a shot in the dark of like, I don't know what else to shoot. So like this has not worked with anything else up to this point, but let's just see what happens. And then when you see a little cutscene of him just freaking out and crashing, you're like, holy crap, that worked. And also, the fact that you're targeting this fast-moving animal that's, you know, weaving in and out of sand on horseback and nailing that shot, like, you feel like Luke in that trench run, getting that 1 in a million shot. And it feels really cool, and it makes you feel like this master horseman and archer at the same time, nailing that shot. And then from there, it's just gravy, and, you know, he'll crash, and you kind of climb up his back and stab him. But also, if you're a cool guy like me, if you like to do cool guy things, what you do is you ride up with aggro, just full speed when he's kind of like hunched up and just like scratching his eye with his non-existent hands. And you go full speed and you just jump and you like fly up on his back. So you save yourself from climbing and you go like, oh yeah, it's on now. I'm on your back now. And you just go to town on him. But yeah, that Sand Snake I think is a really, really cool fight. So he is my final pick.
All right. Good, solid pick.
Okay.
I have personal issues against him, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
Right. So I'm the only one that has him.
Yes, you are.
Alrighty. So, Zach, what's your final pick?
My final pick is, and this is the wiki says the developer nickname, The Snake.
The Snake.
Number 13. And it's basically the counterpoint to yours. And it's a kind of a combination of that and number 5. It's the flyer in the desert.
Yes.
And that has it's like those two combined, but better than both of them for me. You have aggro, and you're shooting these really gross things that are on its belly, and then it kind of falls, and its front fins are sinking into the sand, and you have to jump off of your horse and time it in such a way that you just smash into the side of its wing, when number 5 is flying towards you.
His like fins are like outstretched, but when you destroy his air sacs, they kind of like dip, and he's kind of like, because he'll lose altitude because his air sacs are gone, and then he's kind of like dragging his fins into the sand.
They go vertical like a rock wall.
Yeah,
and it took me 3 or 4 tries to time that jump just right, but when I hit it, it was just, oh yeah, I'm good at video games.
You almost feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah. And then just like number 5, that's just the beginning. Then you gotta... This might be... Like, it's thinner looking because it flies, but it is huge.
It is.
Like, you run from its head all the way to its tail over the course of the fight. And it takes a while. It's big. And it's
moving the whole
time. It's
time,
moving,
too.
And it's shaking you off. And it's just vertigo, and you see your horse on the ground, and she's like, "Go get him, man!" And
exactly, it's kicking her little hoof at you, like, "Yeah, me, you got it." That's my terrible aggro impersonation.
I just saw on Twitter somebody had a picture. They apparently somehow got aggro on top of that,
what?
And then took a picture of her falling off.
Oh no!
Like 100 feet in the air, and then 100 feet in the air is the snake, and then 50 feet below that is the horse.
So aggro's up there just terrified.
It is.
Like, why did you bring me up here?
It is horrible but hilarious.
See, if she can survive that fall, then maybe she survived her little bridge collapse.
Yeah, she's fine. She didn't even break a leg.
She hit water. That's softer than sand.
Yeah.
We don't know how deep that water is, though. So,
but yeah, that fight, like, it is a combination of fights that had come before. I almost think if one of those earlier fights, if number 5 or the one you just picked, were not in it, this would be even better. Because it would be less precedented, but maybe we'd be stuck. Maybe we wouldn't know what to do. But that might be my favorite. Even though it took a while when I was doing it. Because I couldn't time that jump just right. But when I did, it was like, yeah. That's what this game is about.
Yeah, that's actually my last pick as well.
Flying snake.
Yeah, I in my head, I affectionately refer to it as the Skytrain heist. Because the act of like running alongside the snake after you shoot kind of its gas bags, and then jumping onto it reminds me of like an old West type movie where a bunch of bandits kind of ride alongside the train and like jump onto it in order to rob it, and it's just really thrilling and it's really exciting, but it's also all tinged with this melancholy because it's, of all of the Colossi, this one's literally just flying around out of reach of most people, just minding its own business.
It never attacks you.
No. And you really have to go out of your way repeatedly to finally bring it down. And that, I think for most people, like, that's kind of the turning point in the game where they're like, oh, I'm probably not a good character in this game. Like, if you haven't realized it by then, you probably weren't going to realize it by the end of the game. And it's a great encounter. It's a great design. It's really interesting to look at and beautiful. The location is really interesting. You never fight another Colossi in an arena like that. And it's just great on every level. it's tied up there for my absolute favorite alongside the swordsman. So.
Alrighty. Well, awesome. Well, there it is, folks. Might be the quickest we've ever gotten through this preliminary round, which is good because that'll give us more time to tear each other's heads off. But one more time to go down our list. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, 8 Colossi vying for those top 4 spots. Half of these Colossi will not make the mountain. The other 4 will be immortalized forever in stone, even though they're kind of made of stone already.
Yeah, half the work's done already.
Yeah, they're kind of there. Now they're going to go the other 50%, replace that grass with immaculately carved rock and granite. So, going down the list, and I'm going to read them as I have written them down. So,
good.
Here we go. Number 3, the swordsman. Number 8, the Colosseum armadillo thing. Number 9, giant turtle in geysers. Number 12.
These names really flow off the tongue.
I know, right? Number 12, teeth thing. Number 5. Number 5, scary eagle H2O. Number 16.
Where did the H2O come from?
Because it's in water. He's over water.
But he's not in the water.
Yeah, but I had to make that distinction that I wanted the water to, I didn't want you to think it was scary eagle, not H2O.
The water informs.
There aren't any other ones.
I'm just making sure. Anyways, number 16, final jerk. Okay. Number 10, sand snake. And number 13, Sand Snake 2 Flying Boogaloo.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I want to object to the way that my pick, the final boss, was portrayed on this list. I feel like it shows bias.
I mean, is he not the final boss, and is he not also a jerk?
I don't want to make character judgments on the Colossi.
He's shooting you.
I mean, yeah, but
repeatedly.
That's not. We don't.
He
know
doesn't
his
even give
reason.
you a chance to. Like
you've murdered all of his friends. You murdered all of his friends.
And his feet are like glued to the ground. I mean, not glued, but I don't know. He's probably. I think he's got a good reason for being a jerk.
Yeah, it still makes him a jerk. My horse died at that point. Okay,
your horse is fine.
My horse died trying to get to him.
I mean, that sounds like a you problem, not a him problem.
He should take better care of his architecture around his place. That bridge shouldn't have fallen apart.
He probably didn't.
Maybe if he could move
himself.
Like if you maybe need some Ghostbusters 2 slime to make him walk like the Statue of Liberty.
Well, I'm sure he'd be really happy about it.
Sorry.
There you go. Alrighty, so at this point, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to have our own Battle of the Colossi to see which 4 of these make it to our mountain. Welcome back! Time to decide which 4 of the 8 top Colossi, the 8 nominees vying for the spot on the prestigious mountain, get to make it. And based on kind of how the last discussion went with the last pick, that flying snake, I think that might be the most universally favorite Colossi. Like, I didn't say anything when you guys were praising him, but I completely agree with you guys about the flying sand snake. I intentionally left him off my list because he seemed like an obvious slam dunk that I figured one of you would include him, and it turned out both of you did. But yeah, to kind of like co-sign on what you guys have already said, he might be my personal favorite in the game overall. So, like, you just feel he's the only Colossi where, the act, like, the act of repetition of, like, trying to figure out how to get on him and having to do it over and over again, it never feels old or repetitive, like, it only feels awesome the entire time. Like, I have zero complaints about that Colossi, really. So, unless for some reason you guys disagree, do you guys want to just put that flying sand snake on the list?
No, it definitely deserves it.
Good?
I made my case
All
already.
right.
It's perfect. It's the best.
Yeah, he kind of is. He's pretty awesome. So, there we go, right off the bat. Flying Sand Snake. You just made the list. Now, 3 slots left to go. I think maybe now we can turn our attention to the final boss of this game.
Okay.
So like I said before, I have mixed feelings about the last boss. I think he is fantastic in terms of like I said before, like in terms of topping what's been done visually and just kind of like intimidation wise. Like you look at him and go like,
wait. Question: Why are we going to the final boss one?
I got things to say.
No, I know you have things to say, but it doesn't even follow your list.
I'm just jumping around. It doesn't have to go down the list. You can jump around. We've jumped around before. We've never gone just straight down the list.
Well, how about we knock out another one that I feel is like a slam dunk?
Okay, what's a slam dunk?
The swordsman. I want to hear the arguments against the swordsman.
Well, Zach, you had an argument against the swordsman.
I have a huge friggin' argument against the swordsman, and I have it recorded. It's me trying to jump from that spiral platform to that hanging box platform, whatever it is, that pillar that's broken. Trying to jump from the spiral to that, and from that to the platform that the boss is actually on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I fell off like 5 times. And
do you actually have this recording?
I
do.
Are
you gonna play it? You have the evidence to present to the court?
Yes. I'm starting recently. I've been recording everything, and I'm putting together little videos on every game that I play.
Okay, but question: does that count as part of him?
Yes,
as
it
Colossus?
does. And it actually links back to something that I have in support of the final boss of Malice, is that every Colossus, the game is split into 16 chapters, basically. And within that, each chapter is like multiple parts. And the ride to the boss is not as important, but it's integral to the boss itself. Like, that context of going from the temple, the shrine, to whatever ruined locale or wide open field you're gonna fight. Like, for Malice, Malice number 16, he's the only one, I think, with, like, a big narrative moment before the fight, and it's aggro falling into the river.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a huge... That fight would not be the same. Like, when he's shooting those rockets at you, energy balls, whatever, they look kind of like Mega Man Legends Buster shots.
They do.
Yeah. Like, he basically becomes a Dragon Ball Z character. He's just lobbing energy blasts at you, just nonstop.
Like, that phase of the fight where you're just trying to get to him would not have the same emotional, like, uphill climb feeling if your horse hadn't just gotten turned to glue.
True.
Not glue. She's fine. She only broke her leg. It's fine.
Just
setting her to a farm upstate.
She's at the riverbank just with some tape around her ankle. She's fine.
Yeah. So, that before the fight, that informs the fight. And before the swordsman, I was just a miserable pile of garbage. Like,
okay. Wait. Can you play your frustrations over the mic? Can we hear this? Can we hear the video evidence or the audio evidence?
I wasn't recording my own voice, but it's just me. Okay. And I'm glad I didn't record my voice because I don't want to share that with people. I don't need to share that part. But it's just
your dark side.
Yeah, it was bad. Like,
okay.
I didn't know what to do. And when I finally did it, I felt like it wasn't my fault. Like, I don't know how I made the jump, but I made the jump. Whatever.
Exactly. It felt more like luck.
Mm-hmm. And
okay,
it's something that people complain about the controls in the game, and they're changed somewhat, I think, in the remake. So that could be informing my distaste for the swordsman, but I did not have a good time reaching him, and it's such a long swim when you fall down from there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, well, so first off, I sympathize with you because the first time I played this game, I had a similar problem. But every time since then, I've never run into that problem again. Because that part, I feel like that part is very specifically thrown into the game to teach you that, hey, this is how you do this thing, and it's going to come up again later, so you really need to know it. And I feel like it does eventually do that. Like you do kind of have flashbacks to that moment every time you come back to this and replay it. But you also have that mechanic down for later in the game too.
I had problems in the last boss too, when you have to jump from his shoulder to his hand.
Well, yeah, but like that part you can do it other ways too. I'm talking about like in other traversal parts in the world. Like there are other times when you have to do some similar moves.
Not like that one jump, like that. I mean, it's two jumps because it's jumping from the spiral platform to the pillar, and then from the pillar to the big platform. It's something that you have to go, oh, this is the button combination I need to use, and this is the direction I need to push on the stick, as opposed to this is a skill that I learned.
I think you also have to do it in the final boss fight. Like there's during the ramp up to getting to the boss, there's a part where you're kind of below on a ledge, right? It's like the part right before you get to his feet. And I think there's like a chance that he can like blow you off into an abyss if you time it right or wrong.
This is an interesting. So right now you guys kind of sound like you're not only just like arguing the swordsman's kind of merit, but comparing him to the final boss.
Yeah, this whole game is a piece of garbage. Can't even jump.
No, it's interesting that it kind of took the turn of like directly comparing him to.
Yeah, I think we're taking them both off.
I thought you were defending the final boss.
Well, I've got pros and cons.
Or are you defending him over the swordsman, but not necessarily to be on the mountain?
Well, I think it's that one.
Well, it's both, because pre-boss, the first part, before you even fight the boss, the swordsman is ruined for me.
Yeah.
And for 16, the final boss, before the boss is the best part of that whole fight. Then once you actually start scaling him, once you're actually fighting him, then it's not fun anymore. Then it's just going through the motions, and he's shaking you off, and he shakes you off so fast. He shakes him off a lot faster than I remember. So much more shaken.
Man, if this was a Dark Souls episode, I would just say get good. But
well, I bring that up because there's something about how the rate at which they shake you off was tied to frame rate.
Really?
On the PS2 version. And that was retained on the PS3 version, but with the frame rate much more stable, they shake you off a lot more often.
Interesting.
And I would have to go back, and I'm sure there's a bunch of videos that directly, that show what the difference is. But 16 and 15, the one before him with the bridges that you have to jump off the bridge onto his back, I felt like I had no downtime. I had to do little tiny stabs. It was just shaking so often. And I was actually running out of grip and falling off and having to do it all over again.
Okay. If you guys keep saying "shake it off" anymore, I'm gonna start playing the Mariah Carey song. Just gonna throw that warning out there. This is an interesting dilemma for these three. So, Jack, you want both the swordsman and the final jerk guy, they're both your guys.
Well,
I
would be willing to let go of a final boss for swordsman because I'm gonna confess something here.
Okay.
My original list also included the eagle.
Okay.
But I swapped it out after
Eagle H2O. You got
Eagle H2O after you brought him up because I wanted to highlight the final boss and just like that's a cool fight. It might not be necessarily the best fight and it has problems, but it's cool enough to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that because it is such an important fight. The fight itself just doesn't stack up to me. Whereas the swordsman, the lead up to the fight was ruined for me, and it's not ruined for everybody. But that actual moment of running up the sword, that can't, that eureka moment just can't be beat.
Yeah, it's legendary.
Who would win in a fight, just hypothetically, between the swordsman and the final guy?
Final guy.
They're like the two tallest colossi.
Like final guy would just like vaporize him like from a million miles away. He can't. Sword guy can't hide in little crevices. Look at him. He's huge.
What if he blocked the shots with his sword?
It'd get vaporized.
What if he could block the shots with his sword? It's a big sword.
I mean, then you're getting into territory where like his stone armor wouldn't be affected either, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and he breaks his armor the first time he swings his sword.
Yeah.
Well, solid ground is harder than energy blast.
Then magic energy blasts? No.
Because look at the magic energy blast when it hits the ground when he's shooting at you. It doesn't like leave a crater. It just kind of.
I'm pretty sure it does leave like a small crater or a scorch mark.
Doesn't seem like a blast strong enough to destroy that giant slab of an arm.
I feel like it's strong enough to like knock you unconscious for like 30 seconds.
I know that wait is so long.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a little boy, but not if you're a giant swordsman.
Well, but do any of the swordsman moves leave you knocked unconscious?
I don't know. I was too good. I never got hit by him. So
it would vary on the conditions of the fight. If the swordsman could get close, then he would win because he'd be able to weave and bob around him.
Yeah, like I don't think this. I think the final guy, like I think his body operates like Tim Burton's Batman, where he can't turn his head because of the way the cowl is like. I don't think he can turn his body.
He never moves his feet. His feet are anchored to the ground. All he's got to do is get behind him.
He can turn his head a little bit, but like if you come from directly behind him, he could just get like one smack with that sword, and that would probably be it. Like just one good wind up swing.
Decapitation.
This is all pertinent to the debate.
This is canon
at hand.
Or I mean, all I'm saying, he just needs one energy blast to the face, and he's done.
It's conditional on both sides.
Especially if he hits him in the eye. If his eyes are as sensitive as a sand snake's, then
I feel like this is the same argument of like, well, who would win in a fight, a guy with a sword or a guy with a gun? And it's like, well,
he's bringing
most of the time the guy with the gun is gonna win, right? Unless the conditions are that the guy with the sword is starting real close or is able to sneak up on him.
Yeah, like in my head, I'm envisioning the swordsman running at him with his sword up, and like the guy shooting at him, and he's like. Not only blocking the shots, but he's like deflecting them back somehow. Like he's hitting them back at him.
But does he look that dexterous? Was he that dexterous in the fight?
He hasn't had a reason to be. We don't know what he's like when he's up
against
against
What do you mean
someone.
He hasn't had a reason to be? He had to kill a tiny little thing that was going to crawl up him and murder him.
That's different. Like, when you're stepping on an ant, you're not doing cartwheels and stuff to do it. You just stomp on it.
But the energy blasts are going like a million miles an hour, and he fires like 5 of them every 10 seconds.
But I'm saying, like, if he has to fight someone his own size, then he has to break out all the stops. He's not gonna do crazy.
Wait, so you're saying he has like some hidden secret technique? No,
he might be more agile.
This
than
isn't
you might
Naruto.
Think.
He's not gonna
he
take
doesn't
off
have a
his
reason
weighted
to be agile.
shoes or
Again,
fists.
you don't need to do parkour to kill a bug. But if you're fighting a thing that's your size or maybe bigger, shooting guns, like if someone. Like, and granted, this will never happen in real life, but if someone was shooting at me, if I had the ability to, like, run on walls and stuff to dodge a shot...
Where are you getting his ability to run on walls?
I'm just. Oh wait, not running wild, but I'm saying like he's very nimble. He might.
No,
be more
he's
nimble
not.
than
He has literal club feet.
You know,
He has like literal clubs for feet.
upon thinking about it, I'm gonna give the advantage to the final boss because all these Colossi have these weird weaknesses where, like, if you look at them funny at a certain part of their body, they just get crippled.
What if if the swordsman could also, like, he might dodge the, like, shots, like, Matrix style, like he bends over backwards.
Yeah, he's definitely not that dexterous.
No.
He has his sword to balance on, too, like, he could
Marcus,
stick it
do you not remember how pinpoint accurate the final boss was?
Well, yeah, but, again, he would block it with his sword.
Where are you getting his sword blocking ability? Where is that ever demonstrated?
I mean, how do you know that he can't? You've never seen him do it. Do you have an argument saying that he can't do it?
There's absolutely nothing about his character design or movements or animation that indicate he would be able to move fast enough with that sword.
Yeah, I don't think they're intelligent enough.
Moving at the speed of a bullet.
Yeah, no, they're not intelligent enough to do that because remember,
now we're saying they're stupid.
1/16 of a whole being.
Wait, what? Is that?
Yep, that's true.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they're each part of Dorman's soul.
Really?
Yeah. That's the whole plot of the game, Marcus.
I mean, granted, I haven't finished the game yet, and I've forgotten like most of the finer details of that plot in like 12 years since I played it. So maybe I knew that back then and forgot. But if I did know it, I completely forgot that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole quest is.
I thought it was just bring your dead girl back.
Well, that's
you're
that's a byproduct of Dorman's actual goal.
Okay. Well, I mean, whatever. Anyway,
you're basically resurrecting a demon.
Okay. Well, regardless, are we kind of in agreement that I mean, I don't think we've argued anyone on the list, but are we all agreeing that the final boss isn't going to make the final list?
I feel like we've, at least to some degree, agreed that the final boss isn't on the list and the swordsman should be on the list.
Yeah, the swordsman is on the fast track.
Or at least he's not on the list yet, but he's probably got a strong case to be on the list.
Yeah, he's so iconic. Everyone, when they think of this game, they think of running on that sword.
Also, I think we all along the way agreed the eagle was on the list.
Did we?
Because I admitted that he was on my list, and he was on both of your lists, right?
Was he? Yeah, he was, wasn't he, on yours, Zach? Okay. I mean, I could be comfortable with that. I mean, granted, it's my pick, so obviously.
My only problem with having the eagle on the list is that I also want what was the one that I picked? The flying sand snake.
Well, he's on the list.
Yeah, he's on the list already.
Right. Well, so my only problem with putting the eagle on it is that it's kind of like a warm up version of that one.
Okay, I can see
but they're
that.
still both cool.
They are both so cool.
Are both cool.
It's like comparing a helicopter and an airplane.
I could also see the argument of like having two flying colossi.
But flying is cool. It's inherently cool.
I mean, yes, it is, and it's kind of. I don't like. At least for me, I don't think I went into that game the first time around years ago thinking that any of them could fly. So that was kind of a surprise. All right, we'll shelve the eagle for now. Let's talk about that teeth thing, because I'm looking at the list and it just keeps like yelling at me to say something.
Teeth.
Is anyone feel I think that fight's kind of cool, but I don't think it's top 4 personally, and I don't know if I have anything like overly negative to say about it, but I don't think it's like strong enough to be in the final 4. But that's just me. I would love to hear arguments for it.
It's one that I felt was really personal to me, just my experience in fighting that boss. It took like 30, no, not 30 minutes, but it took a while. And just that slow discovery, of, oh, I can do this. Oh, this happens. What is the purpose of it, of when it does this, when it puts its arms up? And just putting those pieces together, one piece at a time, little by little. For me, like sometimes, you can just see the answer right away and be like, oh, obviously. But for me, it's kind of like the geyser one.
Yeah. Like, there's more thought.
It just happened to work out that it pretty much defeated itself for me.
Okay, but I will say that's the biggest thing the teeth thing has going for it is that it's very unique in how you kind of have to take it down. There's nothing really there is nothing like the method that you go about.
Yeah, I kept on trying to, when I was on its head, hit the teeth so that it would smash its head into the buildings. I was like, is that how I'm supposed to do it? Am I
it
supposed
makes
to win
you think
like this?
that. Yeah, like
it wasn't working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember thinking that too. I was like, okay, that's not it. Do you have any feelings about Teeth, Mr. Teeth, Jack?
I like the concept and I like the fight. It's just I feel like there I feel like there are higher highs in the game than what it does. I love the area and the scenery it's in. Like the location of the fight is absolutely gorgeous. And I like how weird the teeth crown is. It's just a weird. I would love backstory on that thing. Yeah, well, I'd love backstory on. Well, simultaneously, I would love backstory on everything, and I absolutely do not want to know any backstory about anything in the game.
Shadow of Colossus 2, The Awakening.
Yeah. Do not want. But it's to me, it's one of the fights that rises to good in the game, but doesn't quite make it to where I would put it in the top 4. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
I can definitely agree with cutting it because there are a handful of bosses that, I mean, like I said before, that are really good if the stars align for you personally. And for me, they align perfectly on that one, but it's not as universal as something like, this is the way to beat it, and it's articulated, and everyone gets that moment at the same time of, I gotta run up this guy's sword. And it's the example that we keep on using because it's so friggin' cool.
Okay. So I guess we'll officially take Mr. Teeth off.
But we will give him a salute.
We will salute his missing teeth. I think I can let go of the regular sand snake. Unless somebody else wants to fight for him. But I feel like I'm not going to win a fight to get him on the final 4.
I hated him.
I think
I didn't like that fight at all. I won and I didn't know how I won.
It's pretty clear how you won. I feel like there's no luck with him. Like it's all skill. Like you gotta shoot him in those eyes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I'm not gonna lie. He gets a hard no vote from me, and I will be forthright about this. It's entirely due to personal reasons because the first time I fought him, it took me literally like 5 hours of just bashing my head against the wall to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I hadn't been looking behind me while riding the horse. I was looking in front of me. Why would I look behind me while I'm riding the horse?
That's why you couldn't figure it out? I thought it was going to be, like I said before, like, that's the only Colossi where the eyes are targeted. So, like, I assumed, like, you just wouldn't think to do that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I didn't think to shoot him in the eyes because I had the camera aiming forward, so I wasn't seeing his giant eyes behind me.
Just staring you down.
Yeah. and so it took me just forever to figure out that you had to shoot him specifically in the eyes. And it was a very frustrating experience. Great puzzle, but
puzzle?
I was very upset. And
what'd you call it?
I mean, what else would you call it? Like, you can't progress until you figure out you have to shoot him in the eyes. I consider each of these Colossi a puzzle by themselves.
I mean, yeah, I'd say that for a majority of them. Him, I don't know. It seemed like more like, I don't know, like, it seems obvious at a point where, like, he's not showing me anything else but his eyes. So, like, it kind of comes down to kind of like process of elimination. We're like, well,
except that there have been fights before that where it was something in the environment. So I was like literally going around trying to figure out what was in the environment to like make him come out of the sand so I could kill him.
Oh no, that's true. Like I said before, I did the same. I did the thing of like trying to make him run into those columns because I thought like maybe that
that's
was
the way
like,
to do it. They just changed their mind at the last minute or something.
Yeah, or maybe that was too obvious. They're like, of course you would think that.
Yeah, so that's how you shoot the eyes when shooting the eyes does nothing on any of the other ones.
Yeah, which I think is kind of like the teeth thing of like it has its own unique thing that it doesn't share with any of the Colossi. So I think that's more of a point in its favor than a detractor. But at the same time,
I think objectively, it is a good and interesting fight. Personally, I hate it. I hate it so much because of my experience with it. So I'm just voting no out of spite.
Yeah. Also, it's a worm. Why does it even have eyes?
Good point.
I mean, maybe he can't. Maybe he can't breathe in the sand. Like he's like a dolphin. Like he has to come up for air.
I don't think they need to breathe. They're like made out of stone.
Well, they got fleshy parts too.
Does the thing have
magic
lungs?
Constructs.
We don't know, man. There's nothing saying that they don't breathe.
What about the thing from Fantastic Four? It's the closest anatomical analog.
That's true. He has to eat.
Does he have lungs?
Stuff. Probably.
But I mean, he's like, it would be if the Fantastic Four were made with magic, and they weren't. They were scientific creations.
What is magic except for science that we don't understand yet?
I mean, that goes for some things, but not all things.
To quote Reed Richards, or I think Bruce Banner said that. Okay. No, like I said, like I can cut the Sand Snake because even though I like him, I also, looking at this list, I don't think he's quite in that upper echelon, especially again with the flying snake kind of like eating its lunch, but like, hey, I can do this too, and also I can take to the air.
Yeah, it's like,
and you don't have to shoot my eyeballs.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll cut the Sand Snake. That turtle, I think is really cool. I think he's good enough. He's a cool fight. He's got.
Wait, your turtle or my turtle?
Oh, my turtle. The geyser turtle.
Okay, because I was about to say, I can't believe that my turtle's making it this far.
I mean, we'll get to him, but like, I think that my turtle is a really, really cool fight.
It is a really cool fight.
Wait, I think it's down. It's down to the two turtles. Like those are the two things left. We only have one slot left open.
Well, we've got. Wait, have we? I feel like we've only confirmed one for sure, and that was the flying snake. Did we throw the swordsman on there?
I thought we did.
I thought we shelved him for a little bit because
I thought we put the swordsman and the eagle on there.
Yeah.
Wait, we put the eagle. Oh, last I checked, we kind of like were on the fence about both. Like they were on the cups of making it, but we didn't like vote a hard yes for either of them.
I mean, I have a hard vote yes for both of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like
I thought that Zach, you were saying that you didn't want, like, you had an argument for not having the eagle alongside the flying snake.
Well, if the two turtles are the only two left, I think it should be between those two.
So okay, how about this? So swordsman, I like the swordsman a lot too. Zach, you had a pretty passionate argument against it,
but that the actual fight itself, that moment, is one of the most iconic moments in the whole game.
Just as a weird little kind of like hypothetical thing, could you or would you want to somehow argue your turtle against the swordsman?
I would absolutely argue my turtle against the swordsman. I don't think I'd win, but I would argue it.
I'm like somewhat curious to hear what that argument would be.
Well,
let's do that now. Let's talk about
the argument about
turtle.
My turtle, as it is now known, is
my turtle.
it's that discovery. Shadow of Colossus, like you said before, like I think Jack said before, every fight is a puzzle. Or you said it. I don't remember who said it. But someone said it, and it was wise.
Then it was definitely me.
Yeah, okay. We'll check the tape. So every fight is a puzzle, and the swordsman, pretty immediately, you go, oh, I have to climb the sword. I don't know if it took everybody... you know it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You go, oh, I definitely have to climb the sword. And the turtle, I think for a lot of people, is the first Colossus that we died at. In this playthrough, it was the first time that I died. I was watching it, being like, what am I supposed to do? And then I got set on fire and I died. And it was like, oh, okay. These things are actually going to fight back. Like, they do damage, but they really hadn't been an existential threat until that point. And sometimes it doesn't work. Like those little ones that keep on stun locking you and just taking out all your health, and it's really annoying. And this one kind of is like that too, but it kills you fast enough that you don't feel like you're being cheated. You're just getting hit with a really hard attack. And that discovery of seeing the glowing, I guess a mark against it could just be how dexterity focused it is, how you have to shoot it fast enough before you get shot, so it's like a quick draw fight. And I can see that being negative for some people, but for me, it's so intense.
Yeah.
And then it falls down, and apparently if you can jump down on it, Link style, and stab him in the belly, that would just catapult it to a whole other level. Apparently it's possible. I didn't do it, but I still was like... That was a fight that I felt like I was winning by the skin of my teeth, or whatever the phrase is. And I feel like if I were to replay the game, I would feel the same way about it. That it would be a fight that would come down to the wire every time. As opposed to the swordsman, where I feel like if I played that again, I would beat it in a minute and a half.
Okay.
And it looks cool, but it's really just going through the motions.
See, now I'm in the opposite camp, where I have no strong emotions about your turtle, the salamander, like, and really the only emotions I do have are like kind of irritation, because its projectiles have such an AoE burn effect on it that it's irritating to fight. I enjoy like luring it up and then shooting it to make it fall down, but I feel like, I don't know, it's not, to me it's not, this is like, it's one of the least puzzly ones, because it has glowing legs. What are you gonna do? You're gonna shoot the legs, it's gonna fall down, you're gonna stab it on the tummy, and then you're done. For me, I literally could not figure out how I could figure out, I had to run up the sword, but you can't, if you do that, you can't get onto the arm. So what are you supposed to do? And so for me, it was like a lot of like figuring out, oh, this thing in the environment, he has to interact with it and break it, and then you can actually get up the arm. And I found that to be really interesting.
Okay.
Wait, he has to hit something specific to break his arm guard?
Yeah, there's a specific stone circle
like
on the pedestal on his platform.
That's funny, because it was just the first time he swung it, it just went down.
You must have been standing
I just
like
looked
on
out.
or near that thing. Yeah.
And see, it's just like these fights take on. It's not just the variables in these fights line up differently every time you play. Where this one will take, this one is so easy the first time, and then you go back and do it again, and you're like, oh, it's not working the way it did before. It just worked out before, like with the geyser. I could see that being frustrating, and time consuming for just by the luck of the draw.
And maybe I should play devil's advocate a little bit here, since you brought up the geyser. A lot of people who play this game hate the way aggro controls, and they hate fights that have a large emphasis on using aggro. And I feel like the giant turtle, the one that shoots you, and with the geysers, that has a really big emphasis on using aggro. So is that a point against the fight?
I would say, because I think I'm in that camp, and I think even more so, like, quick plug, I'll be writing a review of this game for my site, of the remake specifically. The aggro annoyed me more replaying it now than he did in 05, because there's been better controlling horses since then, and also most recently I've been playing games, like I'm still playing Assassin's Creed right now, and the horse control is far better in that, as well as like Zelda. So like I checked my stats, like, you know, of like how you do stuff, and I spent like almost double time on foot than I did on aggro, because I would just like abandon aggro. Because I was like, I just need to get to this place, and you're not reacting fast enough, so you can just meet me there.
now question, is it because the horse doesn't control like a vehicle, and controls too much like a horse?
It's that, and I get that. I can appreciate that he controls like a horse, and again, that falls into Team kind of Eco's thing for realism. Like, they took that to the 8th degree with The Last Guardian. But also, if I had to choose like realism over just being a video game, I think I would rather it just be a video game. It's just like, no, can I just steer you like a car, please? Because like I still feel like playing Assassin's Creed, like that is a dumb video game a lot of the times, but it still feels cool to like shoot dudes off your horse, and they make it so easy in a game where like the horse is like an autopilot. Like, you can literally set it on autopilot to be like, hey, follow the path, and then I can just like fire arrows if I'm being chased or whatever, and not have to worry about like looking in front of me and steering. So maybe like I said, I'm probably spoiled from that, but like I will say though that out of the fights that use aggro, like, you do need aggro for the giant turtle, the geyser turtle, but not to the degree of like the flying snake, where like you can't get on the snake at all without aggro. Like, you just need aggro for the turtle to kind of
to
lure it. That's about it. Like, once you've kind of got the giant turtle where you need him, like, you can still use him, but he's not a necessity. Like, because he's really slow, so you can like run under his legs and he can't really do anything to you. He'll stomp around, but that's about it. Whereas like something like the snake, where it's about speed too, like you have to use aggro. So I don't think aggro's annoyance is as much of a factor with the giant turtle, at least in my opinion, to me, because like I said, once you got him where you want him, you don't need aggro that much. I will say for the armadillo gecko guy, I'll say, Zach, your argument made me like him more, because I probably like him more than Jack, but I was kind of more with Jack's opinion of like, he can, not so much that he's annoying, but like he's a pretty easy fight. Like, it's really easy to see what you kind of have to do with him, because his legs are kind of a dead giveaway, and then once you kind of do it, you're like, and also like Personally, I didn't take any damage fighting him, because I stayed on like the first level, because you realize you don't have to go really high to deal with him. Like, you can just stay on the first level, and then, like I said, like if you shoot him before he can shoot you, then he's not a problem at all. And that's what I did, at least with the remake.
Part of it is, I think the higher he is in the Colosseum, the longer he's stunned after he falls.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't know, but like for me, it was like him falling down was enough. Like, I just got on him and wailed on him, and I think it took like maybe 2 other kind of like rounds of doing that before I killed him.
Okay.
But at least in the argument of him versus the swordsman, I'm a little biased towards the swordsman. Not so much because I like the swordsman, but like I also have a bias towards the bigger colossi in that game in general. Like, the smaller ones generally don't do it for me, or at least the smaller like ground-based ones. Like, because, you know, the bird is a smaller one, but it flies, so it's like cool.
I do want to say, just in the salamander's defense, it has a really cool design. I love the way it looks really cool. Like, the Colosseum battle location is really amazing.
Yes, I agree. And also like from like just like the when you talk about the lore of that world, like it's one of those locations where you want to like, oh, what do you say? What happened here? Like, I wonder what things were like when this was like, you know, in its heyday, so to speak. Like, and you're like, was this always here? Like, the salamander, did the people like did it murder gladiators or something like that, and it just got left behind after the civilization, you know, expired, I guess, or whatever. But I don't know. one of my favorite feelings about Shadow is like the sense of wonder when you're fighting a lot of these things, and I never got that like sense of like, wow, fighting the armadillo. You're just maybe it's the boss in the game that feels the closest to kind of like a traditional game boss to me.
I can see that. That's kind of what I liked about it. Was its weakness is obvious, and it's just you have to get into a position where it can hit you before you can hit it. And so it feels like a weird kind of Team Eco version of an Old West duel.
Yeah,
interesting.
But at the same time, yeah, but it also feels like something I've done before. Whereas like the swordsman, it's like, well, I've never done this before. Like, look I'm climbing this giant thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
So that would, like I said, like your argument was really good. It made me like the gecko more than I did coming into this.
I was actually surprised at how much I liked that fight. When it was one that I kind of vaguely remembered not liking when I played it on PS2, and I was kind of just steamrolling through the game, and it came up out of nowhere and killed me, and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be easy. And, again, it's just that personal story of, even though it's a linear game, there's no Mass Effect choices to be made, it just is different for every person going through. We all have our different moments where it's like, oh, this boss is doing this for me, and this boss is a cakewalk.
Yeah,
which is it's a good game. Good game. They should remake it.
Yeah, they should get on that sometime. So I guess we'll christen the swordsman on the list. Legit.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alrighty. He ran up another sword to get on the mountain. Like, he ran up an even bigger sword, and that's how he got on the mountain.
Well, whoever's holding that sword, they should be on the list.
Yeah, because he's really nimble, as we established. He just sprinted up that sword doing flips and parkour.
He's going to be the lead character in Shadow 2.
I don't know why, but your insistence that he is very dexterous makes me viscerally angry.
Shadow the Hedgehog of Colossus.
Again, there's no proof that he's not. He's not going to use that against the tiny Ant-Man. He's going to use it against something his size, so we don't know. Anyways, so the giant turtle with the geysers. You presented Aggro's annoyance as kind of like one point against it, but
I mean, I'm voting for it to be on the list. I honestly, in defense of Aggro's movement, I feel, and maybe this is my perspective warped a lot by having played through this game several different times over the years. There is a point where you have to just kind of release control as a player and let Aggro do his thing, and everything works out fine. Like, for example, if you're going along a cliffside path, you can literally just hold the X button, and the horse will navigate it for you. And I haven't really run into any big problems with this most recent playthrough with controlling the horse. And they even have, like, an updated control scheme for the remake. And I reverted it back to the old controls because they just felt better to me. And I feel like people just need to relax, man. Just relax. Enjoy your horse time.
Okay, Aggro, she'll take care of you guys. She got you. She got you. Yeah, again, a lot of that's probably my general like impatience because I did a lot more exploring in this run through than I did the first time around, just because I knew coming in that there was stuff to look for. Whereas the first time I was like, oh, it's just those things. Yeah, because I knew it was a thing. The first time I thought it was just those bosses. I was like, why would I explore? Just go straight to the boss. So like, since I wanted to take Aggro into more nooks and crannies, she is not fun to navigate in those areas, especially in that forest where she, like, I'm just like, let's go. And she's just like, I don't know, terrified of trees or something, but she'll just slow to a crawl. And that's when I'd be like, all right, I'm getting off. You're just going to have to meet me there.
Let's go in between these two trees. No, you don't want to? You just want to stand still? Okay, fine.
I was like, I don't know what your problem is with these trees. They look pretty nice to me, but if you're gonna be like that, I'll see you later. I guess you'll find me when you hear that whistle. You'll come. But outside of aggro, that giant turtle is so cool. Again, it's a lot of it is that visual aspect. Like that area is so dark and just it looks like you're in hell fighting it. Like it really does. And the remake, it looks absolutely stunning. That whole arena and that fight. Like all you see, it's like this imposing figure and then those glowing eyes and then the shots and you're just seeing steam fly up everywhere and you're just like, I want to kill this thing and get the hell out of here. Zach, any argument against it being on the list?
I weirdly feel uninformed about the geyser turtle. Like that fight went by so fast for me that it didn't even get to make an impression. I've already made the case for my turtle, but I feel the passion for this turtle running hot. So I will
hot like a geyser?
Like a geyser.
shooting up from the ground after building so much pressure.
I'm getting all hot and bothered.
Okay, and tickling this giant geyser and making his little toes just go like, ooh.
His little toe beans.
his little toe beans. He's got the same feet as a swordsman. Maybe he can do parkour too.
Four-legged parkour.
Oh, the best kind.
Four-core.
All right. All right. On that note, we're just gonna add the geyser turtle number 9 to the list. So we got one slot open, and I think it's just the eagle that's left, right? Or the eagle and the armadillo gecko. They're kind of the last two hanging in there.
If it's between those two, I gotta stick up for my man, the armadillo, just because the eagle's
I'm
like a.
sure... Oh, the eagle. Yeah.
Say what?
I thought the eagle was already on the list. I'm just confused. Continue.
Yeah, give us the rundown.
Well, right now on the list we've got the flying snake, the swordsman, and the geyser turtle. The eagle. No, I said before that the eagle was kind of in the same kind of like holding pen as the swordsman. We're like probably, but not quite.
Okay.
Like we never gave like a super like confirmed vote of like absolutely the eagle. But the eagle had a lot of strong support. But that was it. Like Zach had the to me it felt like a good kind of like argument against it in terms of like comparing it to the flying snake, which is really the only other flying boss in that game, and saying, you know, like the eagle's kind of like the lesser version of the snake, which is absolutely true. But if it comes down to comparing it directly to the armadillo, I like that eagle a lot. The eagle, I already said, made more of an impression on me than the armadillo, personally.
Now I feel like I have to kill my baby. I have to kill the eagle. I love that eagle fight. But the best part about it is that singular moment when you go, oh my god, I can jump on the eagle while it's flying towards me. And you do that. And that's really cool. And it's about maybe 10% as cool as that moment when you go, I can jump to the flying snake from my horse.
Yeah.
And
my vote still goes for the eagle.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That eagle's really cool.
My passion for the armadillo runs hot like a geyser.
I absolutely respect your passion for the
armadillo. But I can
armadillo.
Concede to the wills of the group.
Alrighty. So, Scary Eagle H2O.
Aren't you glad that I didn't finagle away for the final boss to be on the
when we started this part, I was waiting for that. I was like, he's gonna like he's saving himself for that. that debate. Like he's gonna try to get that last jerk on there. Though at least like out of all your crazy picks, this would have been the one I would have been most accepting of.
Really?
The best part of that fight happens before the fight even starts. It's just
that's true because it has a great, like you said, it has a great emotional lead in. It's got a very harrowing kind of sequence of trying to get to him,
It's like D-Day. Shadow of the Colossus D-Day.
It kind of is, actually. It pretty much is. Like, you're just, like, imagine just, like, a bunch of American troops trying to storm him and just getting taken out just in quick fashion. And only one guy made it to him. Tom Hanks. So, that would have been the one that would have been like, you know what? I could see it. He pisses me off, but I could see it. But it's okay. He's off the list now, so we don't have to have that debate. He's dead. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it, everybody. We've done it. We've got our final 4 Colossi. The Colossi that tower above the other ones, or fly over them, or, I guess, stomp slowly over them. So, to recap, we've got the flying snakes. So, I'm just going to say, like, we don't rank these in any particular order.
But that's totally number 1.
Yeah, the flying snake's number 1. Right?
Yeah.
That flying snake is really, really cool. And I was actually looking at a size comparison chart of the Colossi, and he's actually the biggest, like, I mean, the tallest is the last boss, but in terms of, like, just pure overall size, he was the biggest one.
It takes, like, 2 minutes to walk from one side to the other.
Yeah, like, that's the other thing I like about that fight, is that you don't realize how big that thing really is until you're on top of it. You're like, oh my god, it's taking forever to walk this thing. So, like, yeah, like, again, that makes you feel just like this little speck, this insignificant speck on this just giant behemoth. So yeah, that's really the official number 1. Like, he gets the George Washington spot on the Rushmore, is the flying snake. And then right behind him in no particular order is the swordsman, number 3. We've got number 9, the giant turtle featuring geysers. The geysers are like the backup singers of the fight. And then number 5, Scary Eagle H2O, the aquatic terror that doesn't actually reside in the water. So yeah, that's our Rushmore, everyone. And as always, please let us know if you agree or disagree with this. But most importantly, you should just play Shadow of the Colossus and experience all 16 of these wonderful beasts yourself, because it is as good a game now as perhaps it ever was, maybe. And there's really, really, really nothing like it out there. So yeah, unless you gentlemen, any final thoughts about this list or the game as a whole that you'd like to share? Or
it's really good. Go play it.
I like Eco better.
That's wrong. That's a wrong opinion, but that's fine. It's fine. It's the end of the show.
It's fine. Like, it's pretty good. It's a good game.
Alrighty.
It's one of the greats. It's not Eco, though.
It's not Eco. Well, it's not Eco because it's really Ico. The correct.
No, Ico is IKO, like the song.
No, it's Ico because the I is pronounced I, not E. If it was Eco, it'd be ECO, like eco-friendly.
It's Ico because I pronounce it Ico.
There you go.
Yes. Exactly. Ico. But yeah, we'll save Ico for the top. We'll do the Mount Rushmore of Ico dungeons. It's okay. I like Ico. I enjoy Ico. But Shadow's a better game. But anyways, so yeah, that wraps up another Mount Rushmore. And quick plugs, everyone. Mr. Jack Gardner, where can they find you on social media? And feel free to plug anything that you're doing.
You can find me on Twitter at RiverboatJack. You can also find my podcast at Best Games Period on Twitter. And I work for Extra Life. You can actually find my stuff over at community.extra-life.org. And check out Extra Life itself. It's an awesome charity that has people play games and raise money for sick kids in hospitals. And you can find out more over at extra-life.org.
Awesome sauce. And Mr. Zak Wojnar. Worcestershire.
That's close.
Worcestershire. Almost had it. Nailed it. Where can I find you? And feel free to plug anything that you're involved with.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at my name. That's Zak Wojnar. That's ZAKWOJNAR. I know. And you can find some of my writing at Provokr.com. That's PROVOKR. I know, right? It's a very sexy website.
Sexy.
It is often erotically slanted.
Hot like a geyser.
Hot like a geyser. I should pitch Shadow of the Colossus for that site. They would never in a million years do it. And that's why I also write for Screen Rant. You can read some of my features there. I think that's it. And you can find my YouTube channel, which is budding. It's budding. It's a budding channel. And that's also my name, Zak Wojnar.
Alrighty. Be sure to keep an eye out for all of that. And of course, yours truly, Marcus Stewart. You can find me on Twitter at MarcusStewart7. That is the number 7. And you can find me on my website, marcuswritesAboutGames.wordpress.com. I've got recently a lot of first impressions of some games like Celeste and Monster Hunter World and Iconoclast up there, with some more to come, as well as I mentioned before, a review of the very game that we've been discussing tonight, the remake version, of course. And yeah, that'll wrap up another show. So until next time, as always, we still have more mountain ranges with more Rushmores that we gotta carve into them, more top 4s of the best things ever in the history of forever in video games, of digital eternity, all that stuff that made total sense. And we hope that you will join us for future episodes where we get to carve in. So until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
No more fracking.
Peace.